And good Wednesday afternoon. First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips checking in with you as we hit the middle point of this week. I hope you've been able to get outside today because thankfully it's not nearly as warm as what it has been over the weekend and earlier this week. So finally, some of that relief has started to take over and come into town. So we are happy to have some more comfortable conditions, but you may still find that you need to cool off. I'm actually going to start out here sharing our camera here at Houghton Lake. You can see some folks who are enjoying summer and enjoying the cool waters. Also, with our temperatures into the 70s, I'm sure a lot of people are still wanting to hang out and be by the water, have some fun. So definitely a good time to take a summer vacation. Of course, there's a lot of fun to be had here in mid-Michigan. So hopefully they're having a good time. But today we are going to be talking about how that heat has started to break down and move out, and then the rain chances are going to start to fill in for us. So we're going to be talking about what you can expect with the rain. If you have some evening plans, maybe you're going to be going to a community event. We're going to be breaking down the coverage, and also I will be first alerting you to when that heat is going to return, because I do have some 90s in that forecast. So you're going to want to know when those are going to be headed our way. But for this afternoon, we are going to find that we have a cooler afternoon with 70s, so that is always welcomed here. I don't have 90s in today's forecast, but we do have a little more cloud cover that's also keeping us on the cooler side. Temperatures are going to be into the mid to upper 70s today, and you can see that we have just that lone shower chance kind of here into the afternoon. So we are going to find that a lot of that is going to be pretty spotty, kind of broken up. There's other locations that are seeing the rainfall, but we'll talk about that in a second. But plan on those clouds to still be hanging around here for a little bit longer, but we will have some partly cloudy skies. So a little bit of sun is going to try to come through and kind of poke through those clouds that we have. It's kind of a bright overcast outside. There's a lot of cloud cover, but thankfully the sun is still able to make it through. As we take a check of our current temperatures, you are going to find that we do have some 80s here on the map. So we have 80 degrees in Gladwin and West Branch. Clare is at 82 currently, and yet we are sitting at 78 in Flint. We have 76 in Saginaw and 74 in Owasso. Bad Axe is sitting at 72, but just further south, Marlette's at 79. And our lakeshore communities were at 60 degrees in Harbor Beach, 61 in Port Sanilac. So we are finding a little bit of that sunshine further north kind of doing the trick, but even in Houghton Lake, it's not clear sunshine, but it is at least allowing us to warm up a little bit better. But we will have 70s here for the afternoon, and I don't anticipate any red to show up on this map, so that is a good sign. As far as those feels like temperatures, we're not too far off. That humidity, it still feels like summer outside, but it's not nearly as stiff and kind of sticky as what it was. So we are going to find a lot of our feels like temperatures are very close to the air temperature, maybe a degree or two off and a little bit closer to the warmer side. But thankfully, I don't have any feels like temperatures into the triple digits today. So that is a big win in the forecast. As we do check our dew points, because this is how we do measure that humidity, or this is a great way to do that, you are going to find it's pretty comfortable when we're at that 50-degree mark for a dew point. So that's what we're reading here in Houghton Lake and West Branch. We still have some 50s north of US 10. So that humidity not really a factor, but you can start to see it kind of picking up a little bit closer towards Mount Pleasant, Alma, Owasso, Flint. So we are kind of seeing our southwestern corner of mid-Michigan have a little higher dew point, so a little more moisture available for it to feel just a little bit stickier outside. So we are going to have still that summer feeling even as we go here through the next couple of days. You'll find on our humidity outlook and that though it's a little bit better today, it does try to pick back up. So we still are going to have to work with that rainfall coming through. That's going to continue to add some moisture in. I know even last night with some of the storms that were coming through, you would think, oh good, the storm came through, it'll feel a lot better, but that just wasn't the case. If anything, it felt even more humid after those showers and thunderstorms were passing by. But we are going to keep kind of that humid, sticky feeling even as we go into the weekend, and that's also when those temperatures are going to be climbing. But still for tomorrow, we will find a little bit of a variation in high temperatures, but still a little bit cooler, at least close to some seasonal numbers. We're going to be a little bit more on track for June standards. We will find that a lot of our readings are going to be into the upper 70s and then some of those lower 80s. That would be across I-69 and 127, where you can see even some mid 80s might try to sneak in towards Shiawassee and Genesee counties. But the further north you go, we are going to have some rainfall in the morning, and that's going to keep us a little bit cooler. So that's why a lot of our highs are going to be stalling out into the 70s. We will also have some 60s. You can see there towards Tawa City and Oscoda. So just be mindful that it's going to be a little bit stretched stretched on the number board tomorrow. So if you want some warmer air, you're going to have to travel south. If you want some cooler air, you're going to have to travel north. But overall, the big picture, we are going to still find that today and yet tomorrow, still on the more comfortable side. It is June, so it's going to feel like summer. And we're going to have some summer weather coming in for Friday, Saturday, but really Sunday it peaks again. We did have to put 90 degrees back on your 7-day forecast, and that's going to be here at the end of the weekend. So if you maybe have your friend who has their pool up and running, you might want to invite yourself over on Sunday to stay a little bit cooler, because the weekend is looking nice, but it is going to be right back to some of those summer conditions that we've been working with. Not nearly as strong, and thankfully it's not persistent heat, but it's just going to feel like summer, considering that we'll be wrapping up the month of June and going into July. So if you do want to head out on the water, maybe find some cooler conditions, getting the boat out, our marine forecast, thankfully the waves are a little bit better today. We are going to find those about 2 feet or less, so very much manageable if you're going to be headed out into the bay. The inner bay after those 90s has really warmed up. We're seeing our temperatures there around 74 degrees, 71 into the outer bay, and air temperatures though, if you still head out there, into the 60s. So you're still going to kind of have that cooler breeze off the water, but overall we are at least seeing that a lot of our Great Lakes water temperatures are starting to warm up. Here's a look at all of our Great Lakes water temps across all of them. You will see that it has warmed up quite a bit since we last checked on this about a week and a half ago. Of course, Lake Superior always going to be on the cooler side, so a lot of our buoys out there are really kind of in the most central point, or around 38 degrees there. You can see in the western portions closer towards Minnesota and Wisconsin, 52 is what the water temperature is there. But coming in towards Lake Huron, still kind of a little bit closer towards Alpena, or the northern portion into the central part of Lake Huron, we still have readings around 49, 54 is that next southern buoy, but the southern tip kind of coming off of Harbor Beach, that is going to be around 60 degrees for a water temperature. And then we still have Lake Michigan the further north you are. So if you're closer towards the Traverse City area, we do have our buoy reading at about 52 degrees and then 66 as we go into the central portion of Lake Michigan. So if you do want to do a little bit of swimming and you're thinking, oh, what weekend should I go? Well, we at least now have some warmer temperatures on Lake Michigan. So you will see that it's 73 and 71 kind of coming there closer towards South Haven, even getting close towards Muskegon as well. I know Lake Erie, that one's always a little bit shallow, so that's able to warm up fairly quickly. So you can see the western part is already up to 76 degrees, but it's able to kind of take in that sunshine, take in that heat, and of course always watching for the algae blooms there in the western portion of Lake Erie as well. But even the eastern part is sitting at about 68 degrees, and then Lake Ontario also, a lot of those readings are into the 60s. Now we will have some rain, so we'll be seeing how that deals with those water temperatures, but the rain is really going to kind of take over now that that heat dome is starting to collapse, and now our attention is going to turn to the rain and then the coverage. You can see some of these rain chances are a little bit more scattered and potentially closer towards that isolated, where other days look a little bit stronger. So we're going to be talking about the coverage of the rainfall and what we can anticipate even as far as severe weather, since we did have some stronger thunderstorms roll through last evening. But first, we are going to take a quick break, so if you want those rainy details, stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips going to be talking about those rain chances. So hopefully you are prepared, and maybe you even need it. If you have that garden going, you probably would like to see a little bit of that natural rain coming through. It always kind of helps to perk up those potted flowers and gets them going. So as we dive back into the forecast, as I had mentioned, you are going to be working with some natural rainfall here, but the coverage, that's really been the tricky part, because we are going to find that it doesn't hold together all that great. But let's start with the rain that we're currently working with. So this is going to be bringing us just some scattered showers. We're seeing some returns here into western Saginaw County, and then we have a better rain coverage closer towards 96 around the Ionia area and even along 131, so around Big Rapids. And so we will continue to see just these general showers here this afternoon. We'll watch to see how well they progress in our direction and if they can hold together by the time they come into mid-Michigan. So we are going to continue to kind of keep an eye to the rain, but thankfully we've been able to avoid it. However, when I zoom out here, we have noticed that we do have that better chance for that rainfall further south. And once again, we're lining up to see more showers and even thunderstorms that are coming in towards the southern half of the state. But I do have the lightning tracker on. It looks like we do have that one cell that's coming in between Washtenaw, Lenawee, and Monroe counties. So that is bringing some thunderstorm activity. We also have that thunderstorm on the south side of Lansing, closer towards the Holt, Mason areas. So we do just have these heavy downpours that are still coming through, and that's possible when we do see the red in some of these. But thankfully, we haven't seen any severe weather coming from any of these thunderstorms. And even like the storms that we had yesterday, they had winds just strong enough to spark some of those warnings. So we will be monitoring to see if any of these thunderstorms can actually get developed off towards our west and then move closer towards mid-Michigan. Now, as we zoom out even further here and kind of look at the regional view, we have a lot of rain into Minnesota and Wisconsin, but then we're also seeing that here in the afternoon heat and the sunshine. Then we have a lot of cumulus clouds that are bubbling up, and then they start to tower, and that's allowing them to kind of build in that moisture. So that's why we are seeing across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and even towards Missouri that they're kind of working with some of these pop-up showers here into the afternoon heat. And of course, we're seeing a little bit of that as well. So we do have a disturbance that's kind of just sitting right across mid-Michigan, and that's why we are keeping those rain chances in, but it really just depends how well it holds together, because it's not necessarily a system that's arriving. It is just going to be enough energy to where it can kind of nudge some of that rainfall to get going, and that's why we are going to be keeping some rain chances here throughout the day. And now those percentages and the coverage have been very tricky for us to forecast here. So as we go into the afternoon, you'll see the hour by hour forecast wants to dry out. So it's not really convinced that we'll be picking up that rainfall towards our west. So if it does fall apart, that's great news, because it is Wednesday. There's probably some community events that are going on. So we want to keep it dry here for your evening plans. Overnight, we are watching still for some rainfall that's going to be coming in towards our north. So you will see that that's going to try to set up a little bit closer towards the UP, Straits of Mackinac, but I have seen it a little bit closer towards mid-Michigan and then into our northern counties. So that can still bring some showers and thunderstorms as we go into Thursday morning, but much of our rain chances on Thursday will mainly be into the morning. We can have just a few that kind of linger into the afternoon, and even some that try to pop up again. Should be still a little bit cooler, but this is very much a summer setup. So we do have to know that some of those showers and thunderstorms are going to be possible. And that is, you can see, you're going to try to populate a few more showers. But again, mainly a lot of the action will be into the morning, but we still cannot rule out that there is still going to be some rainfall as we go into the afternoon. But as we go overnight, Thursday night to Friday morning, we once again see the chance for some more showers and storms. So that's going to be coming through, but we'll see how well that clips mid-Michigan. That's going to stay further north. So it's really just dependent on where that boundary sets up and where these showers and storms want to ride, and also if they want to hold together. So very much the summer setup that's kind of frustrating for us to forecast, because the rain can always have a little bit of a mind of its own. And I know our farmers are also going to be feeling that pain, trying to figure out getting that rainfall, needing that rain. But the big takeaway here is that we do have rain here for the rest of this week. We've already seen some showers. We're watching for a few more today. We will have that rainfall tonight going into tomorrow morning. And again, Thursday night into Friday morning, we do see another round of rain that's going to be coming through. Now I am going to show our rain predictor. This is going to go all the way from today into our Friday night. So this is going to be midnight going into Saturday morning. And we do have a wide variety of totals here, but you're going to find our northern counties are a little bit on the stronger side because we are looking at a little bit better coverage of the rainfall there. So as far as seeing nearly 1 inch to 2 inches, we could pick up 1 inch because with all the moisture that's around, a lot of us have been experiencing heavy downpours, and that's going to be a trend that continues on going through the rest of this week. Now we also find that a lot of our totals are still around 1/4 to even at times getting up towards 3/4 of an inch. A lot of this rainfall is very much manageable for us, a lot of these totals. So as far as flooding concerns, overall, not many. Flash flooding and maybe some of those lower shallow areas, those can be a problem if we have some of these thunderstorms that set in the right spot and kind of hold there for a while. That'd be just like the setup that we had on Saturday along I-75 when we had just under the Corona Road overpass, there's that shallow spot, and all that rain kind of sat there, kind of closing down the highway for a little bit until we can get, or till the water could start to drain off of that. So we will find that we can kind of take some of this water, but it will be our northern counties that are going to have the better chance at seeing some of those higher rain totals. Now also, we will find our lows tonight are still going to kind of cool back down a little bit better. We're going to drop just a few degrees of what we had this morning. We will be finding that a lot of our lows are going to be sitting into the lower 60s. I still anticipate with the humidity, some of us may hold on to some of those mid 60s, but we are going to continue to see some of those conditions that are cooling out overnight. So if you don't have air conditioning, that's going to be a pretty welcome sign to see some of that relief. Now, before we do have a look at our first alert 7-day forecast, I do have some fun videos that I do want to share with everybody, but I want to take a real quick break, get everything set up, and we're going to be right back. So stick with us. We have some fun headed your way. Thanks for sticking with us. As promised, I am going to show you some fun happenings. Now, these are some of our fun little animals that our partners at CBS were able to capture, trying to stay cool. And I just kind of saw some of them just trying to stay cool. And I thought, wow, that's really kind of been us here for a while, whether we're eating popsicles or kind of chilling by the pool, playing some games there. So actually, this is going to be from the Humane World for Animals, and they have nearly 600 animals there, 42 species, and they are rescued, but thankfully they are just kind of enjoying these lazy, hazy summer days, and they've been kind of trying to keep cool. They've been splashing around, and so their farm is actually going to be in the Texas area, so they have a lot of heat, and that's a little bit more consistent. But you can see here the tigers kind of trying to play in the water. The monkeys have their popsicles, so very similar to us. We're just trying to stay cool, anything to do it. Again, kind of playing in the pool, trying to keep all the fun of summer going. So they actually also have nearly 40 pigs that do live at their sanctuary. So as we saw, the one kind of just rolling around in the mud, anything to kind of feel better. But they also have 2 tigers there that we had seen. So they are going to be one of America's largest and most diverse animal sanctuaries, kind of rescuing animals that need a safe place to go. So glad that they were able to share this photo with us of all the animals that are trying to stay cool. Like I had said, I know a lot of us, we're trying to stay cool with some of the heat, so I bet there's going to be a lot of pool time even coming up later this summer, even as early as Sunday. So as promised, here's a look at that first alert 7-day forecast, where we do still have some 70s here for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, some of that heat starts to come back in, but this is kind of pretty normal because our average high here for late June sits into the lower 80s. So when we're into the mid 80s, it's what's expected for the summer season. But then Sunday, we do have 90s again, and we have a lot of sunshine. We will be watching for a hint of precipitation in the forecast. But so far, the weekend has been drying out. We've been seeing some good improvement. So if you have plans this weekend, it's really looking nice. Of course, if anything changes, check back in here at our first alert desk. We'll be updating you every day at 2 o'clock. We do have another storm chance that comes in early next week on Monday, just because we also have temperatures that are still into the 70s. But even our overnight temperatures, mid 60s, so not big relief, because I know a lot of you say that you like 50s. If you have those windows open, that's just that comfortable sleeping weather. But it might be a little bit warmer than that, but maybe you can kind of give your AC a break. When in doubt, it's at least not going to be running consistently like it has been. But we just got to get through here the rain as we go through the rest of this week, and then we have a lot of sunshine going into the weekend as well. Now, kind of looking at some of the comments, Tanya was asking about the humidity. So we have seen some drops in that, but you will see that it's still going to be a factor going through the forecast. Those dew points are still going to be hanging out into the 60s. So you'll still feel some of that humidity. So Tanya, just kind of be prepared that summer feeling isn't going away, but thankfully it's not nearly as uncomfortable as what it has been the last couple of days. So there is some relief in the forecast, but with it being summer after all, we are going to see that it is going to be feeling like it. And when we have temperatures into the 80s, that's warm on its own, but that humidity is just kind of that next level to make it feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I do want to thank everybody for joining us. Just a reminder that we do hang out here at 2 o'clock on Monday through Friday. You can catch us here on the at WNEM.com on the TV5 news app. We're also streaming to the TV5 YouTube page and also on our Facebook page. And then also, if you have maybe a Roku or a Fire Stick, if you have the app, you can join us there. We do have our stream that delivers to those products, and then Apple TV and Android TV are other locations that you can connect with us. So there's many ways to stream this, and even if you know somebody who would be interested, they can of course rewatch us on YouTube. They can also catch us again on Facebook, kind of rewind after they get home from work. So make sure that you're kind of sharing the word. Help us let everybody know that we do hang out here at 2 o'clock at the First Alert Desk, because then we kind of answer some of the questions and even share some of the fun stuff that is going on in the weather world. But I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.